Yay, I'll make a theory about the crimes of Grindelwald. Seriously, the amount of people commenting is blowing my mind. What was there even to theorize about in that film? Credence is Aurelius Dumbledore, Albus Dumbledore's long-lost brother, and therefore the son of Percival Dumbledore. They literally say it, there's nothing left up for interpretation. But since then, I've seen theory after theory after theory after theory just saying the same thing. Oh, well, Grindelwald's just lying to him, and here's why. You see, Credence is just a life form created from Ariana's Obscurus because that's how Obscuruses work. No, he's actually Dumbledore's cousin. Grindelwald just says brother because reasons. Dumbledore's dark twin! Long story short, what we're trying to say is that Percival Dumbledore isn't his father. And while Percival Dumbledore, Albus's father, being Credence's father as well, is by no means a perfect theory, it's literally what's said in the film and is by far the best solution at the moment, which is why today I'm going to be explaining how Percival Dumbledore is Credence's father. I think the most important piece of evidence or thing to prove is that Grindelwald isn't lying. Because, well, we know for a fact if Grindelwald isn't lying, that's basically 100% evidence in favor of Percival Dumbledore being Credence's father, because that's what Grindelwald says.
Your brother seeks to destroy you.
Wow, 100% evidence. That sounds good to say. 100% evidence. The problem is, it's not impossible that he's lying. There's two sides to this argument, and I'm going to show both sides, and then you can decide for yourself which one you agree with more. Firstly, in favor of him lying, he didn't even know Credence was the Obscurul in the first film, and now after 6 months of imprisonment and 3 months of... I don't know why they needed a second time jump in this film. Suddenly he knows exactly who he is, meaning there's a large possibility he doesn't have any idea who he is, and he's just trying to manipulate him into wanting to kill Albus Dumbledore. Add this to the quote from J.K. Rowling in the Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, The Adventure Continues teaser thing, where she said,
whatever you think you know at the end of the movie might not be the case.
It would very much seem to imply it was in fact a lie. Because apparently whatever you think you know might not be the case. What a weird way to promote a film. Like, it's not just me that thinks this is basically just saying the film's a lie, and therefore, what's the point on going... It's a weird way to promote a film. But then, in favor of him telling the truth, a phoenix appears to Credence, and Albus Dumbledore says, out of context of this whole phoenix appearing to Credence, that...
There's a story in my family that a phoenix will come to any Dumbledore in desperate need.
And this is pretty concrete because a phoenix means nothing to Credence, who would have no idea that a phoenix appears to a Dumbledore in a time of need. So it's basically just there to tell us, the audience, that Credence is in fact a Dumbledore and therefore Grindelwald is telling the truth. Add this to the fact the director of the film alluded to it being true in an interview with Empire magazine.
Correct, and there's a very intricate, lovely, with, again, beginning of 3 that we discover a few things about. The family.
And Dan Fogler, who plays Jacob Kowalski, compared this film to Empire Strikes Back.
My favorite movie is Empire Strikes Back. This is the Empire Strikes Back.
Which I think anyone who's seen both films will agree that's very, very, very high praise. The Crimes of Grindelwald isn't Empire Strikes Back. But there is a comparison that can be made between the two films, being that a main character is told who his real parents are at the end. And apparently there was speculation that Vader was lying in 1980, but that turned out to be true, so... I mean, if it turned out Grindelwald was lying at the end of this film, I don't know how you could even consider comparing it to Empire Strikes Back. This film would become skippable if Grindelwald was lying, because nothing else happens. So, for the sake of this film, please let it be that Grindelwald is telling the truth. And as I said, if that is the case, Percival Dumbledore is indubitably Credence's father. But how? Because as you may know, Percival Dumbledore was sent to Azkaban at some point in the 1890s for attacking 3 Muggle boys who assaulted his daughter. And according to Albus, went on to die there. You knew the secret of my sister's ill health, what those Muggles did, what she became. You know how my poor father sought revenge and paid the price. Died in Azkaban. I've actually seen a lot of theories against Percival Dumbledore being the father try to manipulate the wording of this aforementioned death by saying it happened shortly after him reaching Azkaban. But this is all false information. Percival Dumbledore's death is only mentioned twice in the books, one time by Albus Dumbledore, as I just read, the other by Elphias Doge, who said, scarcely a year previously, his father Percival had been convicted of a savage and well-publicized attack upon 3 young Muggles. Albus never attempted to deny that his father, who was to die in Azkaban, had committed the crime. On the contrary, when I picked up the courage to ask him, he assured me that he knew his father to be guilty. Nothing about it being shortly after arriving in Azkaban or anything like that. And while yes, both excerpts say he definitely died in Azkaban, considering our knowledge of survival in Azkaban being that most people referenced as being imprisoned there saw out sentences of over 10 years, I think the chances of him still being alive 10 years after being convicted as a healthy 30-year-old male, presumably, are pretty likely. Which is important to take into consideration because Credence was born in 1901. At least he was an infant on a ship in 1901, so I'm guessing he was born around that time. And that is 10 years after Percival's imprisonment. Of course, there are still a couple problematic factors like how did he have a child in Azkaban and his wife dying in 1899 while he was still imprisoned and before Credence was born, so that's probably why a lot of people consider this theory impossible. But while this theory definitely isn't perfect, there are some ways around these problems. Firstly, given what we know about Azkaban, conceiving a child within the walls would be very possible. I'm not joking. You see, there are no guards in Azkaban, just the Dementors. To quote the Pottermore article, the Dementors living there were an advantage. They could be harnessed as guards, saving the Ministry time, trouble, and expense. We also know from Barty Crouch Jr.'s time in Azkaban that you are both allowed to visit and technically can sneak people out. The Dementors are blind. They sensed one healthy, one dying person entering Azkaban. They sensed one healthy, one dying person leaving it. My father smuggled me out disguised as my mother in case any prisoners were watching through their doors. Meaning a visitor coming for a conjugal purpose, well, not great to think about, is possible. Also, in reference to Sirius Black's experience in Azkaban, I think the only reason I never lost my mind is that I knew I was innocent. That wasn't a happy thought, so the Dementors couldn't suck it out of me, but it kept me sane and knowing who I am. And while Percival is almost definitely guilty of his crime to our knowledge, he didn't do it out of hatred. He did it out of love for his daughter, which may have, in a similar way to Sirius's knowledge of his innocence, helped keep him sane in Azkaban. Given reason to believe there are ways to have children within the walls of Azkaban. Also, with the death of Kendra Dumbledore, Percival's wife, I'm starting to tilt towards the idea of him falling in love and having this child with another inmate, and maybe that's why the Dementors couldn't get to them, and I really hope for the sake of Fantastic Beasts this storyline isn't explored in too much detail. Like, maybe focus on like the love aspect of Percival Dumbledore and his significant other, and rather than, yeah. Also, giving birth to a child in Azkaban and then having to quickly whisk them off to America to get them out the Dementors' clutches would make a lot of sense. Like, that would be a good reason why Credence had to go to America. Also, actually, on the topic of Credence's trip to America, where presumably most of the people died, and he should have died because he was only saved by Leta Lestrange. The official script says he was accompanied by his aunt. Not his mother, not his sister, not his brother, his aunt. And traveling with his aunt works wonders to the Percival theory. Because with any other theory, the question's always gonna be, why was he with his aunt? If he was the child of Albus, Aberforth, or Ariana, he wouldn't even have a living aunt, so they're all out the question. And if he was from any other Wizarding family, there better be a good explanation why he isn't with a member of his immediate family for this life-changing trip to America. Being the child of Percival Dumbledore and potentially an inmate from Azkaban, it all just fits up. His mother and father are both in prison and can't look after him. He's not going to want to turn to Albus and Aberforth, who have just suffered through the death of their sister. His wife probably wouldn't be too happy about looking after another woman's child, and she's also dead, so there's that. Meaning Percival's sister, Honoria, who is mentioned by Albus Dumbledore in Tales of Beedle the Bard, doesn't just provide the best solution to who this woman is, but she also provides the best solution for Percival Dumbledore to give Credence a good and new life in America. And yes, I do realize the evidence isn't perfect. I would go as far to say as J.K. Rowling has purposefully left holes in the story so that people theorize about it and question, well, what if Grindelwald's lying? What if this is that? And what if this is this? Because hey, free publicity, right? But I do believe Grindelwald is telling the truth, and therefore Credence is the son of Percival Dumbledore. And also, just how poetic would it be if Credence was born and conceived in Azkaban? Like, that just fits with like his obscurial and his character and everything. I love it. Special thank you to Zach, Kyle, Peyton, Amanda, and Mats for sponsoring me on Patreon. If you also want to support my channel, my Patreon link will be in the description down below. That's all I've got for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see other Fantastic Beasts theories, make sure to leave a like so I know you enjoyed this video. You can subscribe here if you're new. You can watch another video by clicking here. You can check out my merch here and in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. His father, Percival, had been convicted of a savage and well-publicized attack upon 3 young muggles. Muggles. I just hate everything.